You don't want to prejudge what is important. So as you take someone's statement, remember we talked about them asserting facts. So as they assert facts, you are taking note of which of these facts can be corroborated. There are certain things that you can, specifically go out and find, and other things that you need to do a little bit more. So don't prejudge when you've made this list. Okay, these are all the things. Don't prejudge their importance. You don't want to specifically say, okay, this is all I need to do. This is all I need to look for. You want to gather as much information as possible. Even though it's more work, the more puzzle pieces that you can get people to dump on your table, the more likely you'll be able to put together a complete puzzle. Now, if you're like me, when you put together a puzzle, you hate getting to the end and having a missing piece. But the problem is you don't know what you don't know. You don't know that there's a piece missing until you go through take all the time and go through the entire process of putting that puzzle together. You spend hours and hours and hours on this 5,000 piece puzzle, and you finish, there's one piece left, and you look around on your table and there's no piece. So you look under your table, on the carpet, to see if there's a piece. You search everywhere and you can't find the missing piece. You did all of this work and your puzzle is missing a piece. There was no way for you to know when you cut open the box and dumped that puzzle on your table that there was a piece missing. The only way you can determine that is by putting the puzzle together. When you start an investigation, you don't know what you don't know. You have no idea which pieces are missing, what you are going to be able to corroborate, what you are not going to be able to corroborate. As you gain more experience, you'll have a better idea, but you still don't know. You still have to go through the steps and do the entire investigation before you determine what pieces are missing. More often than not, especially in a Title IX case where you have a preponderance standard or even clear and convincing, you will not have a complete puzzle at the end. Because again, you don't have access to the direct kind of physical evidence. You're not trying to prove it to beyond a reasonable doubt anyway. So if you have a piece of the puzzle and you can tell that it's a puzzle of a farmhouse and then there's a tree and a pond and a nice white house, even though there are blank spots, if you can tell what the picture is, then you've done a good job. Your goal is to not have any missing pieces, but that's not realistic. It's not going to happen. So decision makers, you need to understand that. You need to understand that when you are evaluating the case, you're doing so to the standard in your policy, preponderance or clear and convincing. You're never going to get a puzzle that is totally complete. There will be missing pieces. You have to evaluate, is there enough there to show to the preponderance standard that this happened, or is there not enough? So how do you gather evidence? If you're not law enforcement, so you can't get a warrant. You watch TV shows, they run out. In most TV shows, they act without a warrant. They just go in the house anyway. But when they do it legally, they get a warrant or they subpoena information. So that's the legal law enforcement way. You don't have that ability. So you have to rely a lot on the parties. But yet the rules that we have from Department of Education specifically say the burden is on the university. So you carry the burden, yet the parties hold the evidence. And you don't have any way to legally force them to give you that evidence. So you have to develop a relationship of trust. The way that you treat them, the way that you approach the interview is all going to determine how cooperative they are in giving you evidence, because you don't have a right to go in and seize it. So after you've decided, you take the statement, you kind of list all the facts that they've asserted, you've decided what you could collect to corroborate those facts, you can ask for those things specifically. That's totally okay. So if part of the statement, there was a text message conversation about the incident, you want a copy of that. conversation? Well, you can't just seize their phone. You can ask them for their phone, but in my experience, if you ask a college student for their phone, they're not going to give it to you. They use their phone all day long in everything they do. It's a part of them. They're not going to just give you their phone. So you have to figure out another way. You need to ask for the text. If there were emails as part of their conversation, they took photos at the party or together that night, or there's videos, photos of injuries that she took, her friend took for her after the incident, any kind of records. If you can identify specific things based on what was said in the statement, go ahead and ask for them. But don't stop there. There should be a general invitation asking them to provide you with anything that they believe is pertinent or relevant, anything they think you need to know. That's a very broad request, and it's broad for a purpose. It's broad on reason. And I say it may increase the amount of information you get. No, I guarantee you it will increase the amount of information you get. But remember, the more puzzle pieces you get, the more likely you're going to find enough to complete your puzzle. If you have a small pile, you're going to have fewer pieces to complete your puzzle. So you want a large pile to work with. And yes, that will create more work, but that's part of the job. So ask for specific things you know are relevant, and then give the general invitation.